Hey guys, Artosis here, bringing you some more replays from the Pro Gamer ladder. In this game, we have YSC, one of the best newer protosses out there. He's been in several ASLs. He plays in the Survival series very consistently. Just a very, very strong protoss player. You've definitely seen him in some of the CNSL casts as well. Got very deep there. And his opponent in the bottom left, kind of a notorious ladder god. It is Shinee, not to be confused with the Shine, the Zerg player who got second place in ASL before. Shinee instead is kind of a troll pro gamer level Terran. He got banned from ASL for qualifying and then not showing up, and then falsifying match reports because he qualified again. And it's he also smurfs on the ladder all the time, just consistently makes new accounts and stuff. I don't like him. I think people know that for the most part, but he's a very strong Terran player and actually plays a very interesting, different style of Terran versus Protoss. So I'm kind of excited to see this. I haven't seen too many of his ladder games, against Protoss players, plenty against Terran, but not so many against Protoss. So kind of interested to see how his style matches up. Let me set the stage for you. Okay, so YSC is generally like a shuttle player, right? Like he'll get oftentimes double robotics, he'll have speed shuttles, he'll play that kind of modern style a lot of the time in his PvT. Of course, he can do everything, but that's what I'm expecting to see out of him. Shinee, on the other hand, this guy is less about like armory and eBay that a lot of other top Terrans do. And it's more common for him to do things like Academy and Starport. Okay, so it's like a different type of style. And the Starport doesn't mean necessarily that he's always going for drops, but he likes to use Wraith as his anti-air and that type of thing. Definitely a very technical Terran player. So yeah, that's kind of why I when I saw that there was a replay of these two playing each other, I thought, you know what, this would actually be a really interesting game to watch, to see a player who really likes to utilize shell harassment against a player that I don't know if he does it this time, but very oftentimes does like to defend against that with Starport units. So we'll see how this goes down. It looks like Shinee going ahead, scouting the top left. No scout yet here for YSC. Looks like a highly, highly optimized build. Dragoon on the way. This might be one of those ones where you scout one direction with the probe, the other direction with the Dragoon. Kind of a common build. And he's going to be able to maybe send the Dragoon over to the left, since the probe is going to the north, and find Shinee right away. Shinee right now, he's just kind of waiting for this depot to finish, continually making Marines. And yeah, everything looking, pretty normal so far this game. Nothing out of the ordinary. Range on the way, so not being too greedy. YSC over here. You do have to be careful with some of these like rangeless expansions. Bunker going up very, very quickly. Interesting already. A couple things to note is that Shinee did go not for an end scout, but rather a scout that goes all the way around the map, and he stopped on 2 Marines and made a bunker. So that is kind of interesting, because he's not, like, if this was Nexus first, he wouldn't actually have a very strong way to counter it. Like, you couldn't do the Marine SCV Vulture push. Maybe his plan is to do something else, like a Vulture drop, right? Like, there certainly are other strategies that you can use. You don't have to play like that. And like I said, he plays kind of his own strategy, which is a big part of why I wanted to cast this, to see exactly how he's going to approach this game. Now, he's got a very strong wall here. You can't really do a run by or anything like that. Single Dragoon sitting outside, making sure nothing can scout. And the Vulture actually did slip in. I actually didn't think it was going to, so I stopped looking at it, but it looks like it slips by somehow, and he gets 2 probes. That's a huge deal. In fact, he's going to get at least 3. 3. He might get a 4th. He might. Oh, he just barely gets the 4th. So that's a pretty huge first Vulture. Okay, if you get the Vulture in and get 2 probes, you're happy as Terran. And in fact, if you get the Vulture in, get 1 probe, and see the tech, you're like, you know what? Good job, Vulture. In this case, he got 4 probes and saw the Robo. So this is great right now for Shinee. He has to be very happy with it. And take a look here, okay? Back at home, he's not going for like a mines open or anything like that. He already has a siege tank, and he's getting that academy very quick, like I was talking about before. Siege mode is on the way, so it looks like a very defensive opener. the academy is going to allow him to really adjust. Let me talk about that for a minute, right? So you kind of need to get some sort of detection. If you don't in the early game, it can be really risky. Now, sometimes you'll be able to just scout what your opponent is doing right away, and you'll be like, oh, it's a robo. Okay, I don't need detection yet. But you generally want detection pretty quickly. Now, economically, the engineering bay is better than the academy. Okay, when you build a ComSat station, that takes up 2 SCV build times. So you basically lose 2 SCVs that you could have produced when you make your ComSat. So when you make 2 ComSats, which is what you're always going to end up doing, you know, you're going to end up losing 4 SCVs total. So it is going to slow your economy down a little bit, right? Like you can see he's making 1, and already YSC is caught up in probes. He hasn't made the second one yet. He might just want 1 scan to open because he saw the robo already. But here's the thing about ComSat, right? Like you lose some SCVs, but at the same time, you get intel on exactly what they're doing. So you hit the scan and you see, oh, it's 2 gate observer. Well, that means he's going to take a quick third, right? That's what it tells you. And so suddenly Shinee has a lot of information and he's had to skip 2 SCVs for it. Okay, well, that's the trade-off, right? This is part of the reason why StarCraft is truly so beautiful. You know, there's so many of these small decisions that you can make. You could have a stronger economy right now and have a missile turret right here. But guess what? Then he doesn't know exactly what's going on. He's playing more blind. So anyways, just to fill in this build a little bit more, he did go Armory afterwards. So it is a variant of Upgrade Terran. And in fact, not just a variant. It's kind of an old school style. He's gotten quick siege mode, and he's actually getting Charon boosters. So that's Goliath range, and he's gonna, you know, we used to call it the Goliath build like 6 years ago, but this used to be the way that you always played Terran versus Protoss. Very upgrade heavy. You were really looking to minimize your expenditure on things like turrets, getting those Goliaths out for more active counter to shuttles. So really interesting opener here to see him go kind of back in time for that in his own stylistic way. You can see that YSC is adding his robotics support bay now that he's got his 3rd Nexus coming up. And, well, I mean, everything looking looking fine. Like, no one's ahead, no one's behind. Shuttle is on the way. I think he'll start shuttle speed pretty quickly. He is a big fan of shuttle speed. Reaver, of course, needs to get started first. There it is, shuttle speed. And, of course, the 3rd Nexus getting his probes up there. He is up by about 4 workers right now. So, again, 4 workers were spent to make these 2 ComSats. Just to, again, put this into a little bit of perspective, right? And, of course, there's a 3rd Nexus, so he can actually get up to the probe count he wants, which will probably be right around 65 really, really quickly at this point. But, you know, the longer you can keep that worker count even, the better that's going to be for Terran. Now, another factory on the way, excuse me, as well as a command center. Getting his starport so he can continue that upgrade Terran style. Gonna have to throw down the science facility as well. So a very like turtled opening, right? He hasn't purchased any excuse me, I'm sorry, I've got a little something in my throat. Shinee hasn't really purchased anything he doesn't need. You can see that it's a very late engineering bay. You do still want to get the engineering bay. You still, even if you go Goliath, like for instance, you want a turret probably in the corner, like right about there. Look at that. He's going to do it. So there's a lot of theory behind that. It's like, it's on the edge. The Goliaths can... Hold on. So sorry. Frog in my throat. Anyways, you know, your Goliaths can kind of block the middle, but it takes too long for them to run to the edges. So you generally have turrets in the corners of your base when you go for the Goliath build. Or, you know, anything like that, like a Wraith. Anytime you have mobile anti-air instead of just lots of turrets all over, you will add turrets in the corners. So anyways, looking back at YSC, he's got additional gateways coming up. Photon cannon in that main base. Another shuttle on the way. Hasn't taken the 4th base yet, but we can see he wants to take this top right, which I think is a good spot. Hold on, we have a little bit of an engagement, and Shinee actually does get 1 tank volley onto that Reaver, so it is getting a little bit low. A pretty decent spread of Dragoons, but YSC is starting to pick him apart a little bit. Drops in on top of this siege tank, loses the shuttle, but does kill off that siege tank and killing as much as he can here, getting another shot there onto the Goliath. A lot of damage on the command center. It's not going to end up dying, but he did lose a lot of siege tanks. So a very active approach to this game. And this was actually a very important moment here for YSC, right? Because he hadn't started his 4th command center. He just started it. So he's not actually playing greedy. He has a lot of units, and playing against upgrade Terran, you're going to need to trade those units out reasonably well. If you just have a lot of units and take your 4th base, like after they have their 3rd base being taken, you're actually getting behind because Terran is going to outscale you massively. But in this case, you know, he went up and he's trading really, really aggressively with his units, knocking down that siege tank count. This is some beautiful play from YSC. He's really going about this in a very intelligent way, trying to trade these units out while expanding his own economy. Shinee is not going to die. Okay, this kind of, you might look at this and be like, oh, damn, he's going to break him. He's really close. He's not going to be able to kill him with this. Okay, you're going to be able to reinforce these positions. He can put a tank on the high ground, right? You can lay a few extra mines. It wasn't like if he had this many gates, you know, at the beginning of the push and he had zealot legs, okay, maybe he's going to break him, but that isn't really what he was going for, right? This was more of a trading type maneuver. If Shinee had tried any sort of timing attack, there would have been enough units from YSC to really fight against that very well. I tell you, I've casted a lot of ladder games recently, and people have really enjoyed it. So thank you very much for the feedback. I read it all. I love to hear what people are liking and not liking. And I know that these two are not the most famous. They're both ASL level players, but not, you know, legends in their own right, except to maybe other players on the ladder. But I got to say, this is one of my favorite games so far. I feel like we're watching... Like, this is a perfect type of game to learn from for both sides. They're both playing very standard types of builds. You know, as I said, Shinee's is a little bit anachronistic with the quick academy into the Goliath range, but there's nothing wrong with it. But yeah, watching these two do these builds that are like exactly what you want to be learning, and watching the different moves that are really backed up really well by like the theory of the game. I'm loving it. This is a really fascinating match, and now they should actually both grow normally, right? So Shinee, what he needs to do is just macro really cleanly. He needs to get up 150, 160 supply, and then decide, does he try to hit like a maxed supply timing attack, or does he just expand? And I think in this game, 100% you have to go for an expansion. He's not going to have an attack timing, right? He lost a lot of his siege tanks. He knows he's playing against Speed Shuttle and YSC, so he knows Psystorm's going to come, which Psystorm just shuts down timing attacks. You can't really do it. It's like the sharpest thing ever, and if you win, you barely win, and if you lose, you get smashed. So generally speaking, you want to play a little bit more turtled against something like this, and I think that that's going to be the right thing to do. You can see he's getting up there into that 150-ish area supply, and he will be able to relatively soon move out. Probably take over this area. There's multiple ways to play it, though. You know, he could expand here next or here next, but this is generally a little bit easier. YSC right now moving into position. He's looking to see if there is potential for him to get a kill. Now, some of these mines are kind of close. This area is much less defended, but he's got like a lot of mines and depots, which will screw up army movement. So even if he attacks in here, it gives Shinee lots of time to bring units up to reinforce this area. Now, look at this. The Goliaths come up and try to target down the shuttles as best they can. That one gets super low and actually does get targeted down. Now, oh my God, that's the craziest mine ever, trying to go around everything, dropping off a lot of units on top of those siege tanks. But as you can see, everything's being moved up as he attacks into these depots. So literally these depots plus the Goliaths going out to get a few early shots on the shuttles just completely smashed the attack, like basically all by themselves. It's crazy to see, but that was really, really nice from Shinee. Very excellent defense. Now, just because he defended that doesn't mean that he can just go and counterattack or anything, right? This is a very scrappy composition. You can see already he's got multiple Psystorms, a lot of speed lots. He saved a fair amount of Dragoons, so he still has those very microable units. But here Shinee goes. He's pushing forward. He is taking that 4th base, utilizing this turret position, and he'll probably just set up here in a straight line. You know, you look at this and say, oh, well, take the high ground. Not really. You can't build a turret there. It's better to make the defense around the turret than try to go on the high ground. He might be able to go on high ground later on, but that's not something he wants to really think about right now. Set it up in an easy way, and that's not something that's penetrable by YSC. Looking at what YSC is doing, he's added gateways here in the top right. He's taken the natural expansion. He's got a beautiful probe count at 71 and getting ready over here. This type of move gives Terrans like a migraine. Okay, I don't know how to describe it. When you go to the main that's on your side of the map and has cannons there, it's nothing but sadness. This is incredibly hard to break. As you can see, like even this many vultures can't really do it. There's even a zealot there to screw up the math more, and he's going to be able to take that nexus. Now, another attack coming into that same area from YSC. He realizes a lot of units are over here, so he's going to try to hit it again. Get some of those high Templars out. Like, he got some okay storms, but you can see how much time these depots are buying, right? It's hard to micro these zealots to do exactly what you want them to, and killing a couple depots is not the value he's looking for, but he does pick off some siege tanks. Shinee coming over. He is going to be able to clear this out. The SCV count falls to 59, not a big deal. He lost, I want to say 7-8 SCVs there, if I remember the last number I saw from him. But it's not the end of the world. Like 59, you're still doing good. You can refill a few if you want. You're running out of patches here anyways, so these need to be transferred to here as well as here. You need a lot of SCVs on this base, but Shinee defends it pretty well. I don't think it's the worst attack from YSC, especially considering his base count, right? So right now he's on 5 mining bases with very good saturation and is taking the top left. Now, Shinee goes for this counterattack, right? YSC has done like 2 or 3 big attacks that basically spent his army into the, well, 2 big ones into the 3rd base specifically recently. So his high Templar count is not that high. His army is not fully composed. And now Shinee is going for a big counterattack. Now, if you go too quick, Psystorm can mess you up. That storm was okay, but there's a huge clump of tanks and no storms left for them. So suddenly YSC in a very tough spot. He's going to run up his ramp while Shinee sieges up his natural. Whew. Let's take a look at these upgrades. We have 2-1 with 3-2 on the way. We have 3-2, so that might be where Shinee ends up stopping. A lot of times you forget that +3 carapace. It's a lot of gas anyways. Excuse me. And he is starting to break into here a little bit, right? So the natural likely to be taken out. There's a fair amount of probes here, so that is going to hurt the economy. The mineral patches themselves aren't as valuable, but really the most powerful thing happening here is containing these gateways. It's going to be very hard to get units out of the main base. You might actually rally them to the sides, to the back. We do have a little group from elsewhere on the map coming in from YSC, trying to clear whatever he can. He is going to run into some errant mines and lose those as well. Now, will Shinee try to push the main? I don't think that that is almost ever the right choice. I don't think he's going to try to go up the ramp all the way. Like, you could pop some vultures up there and lay mines. That's fine. But looks like YSC going to try to break out almost immediately. He sacks all of his shuttles, dropping zealots out. Gets a few Psy Storms. Unfortunately for him, though, there's still a lot of very healthy vultures here. Laying some mines. It's going to force YSC back up that ramp. And Shinee just backs up and lays some more mines. So this is super strong. In the meantime, another siege push going after 3 o'clock. Things going very well for Shinee at the moment. But we have this nexus, so there's still like comeback possibilities for Protoss here. He's added a few more gates over in this area. Yeah, 2 gates over there. You're going to probably rely heavily on high Templars and dark Templars if your opponent starts pushing those bases. But the big problem is getting an actual army of some size out of here. So this is a normal thing where when you lose this and you're contained, eventually Terran pulls units out to kill other bases. Okay, so he's got to try to judge, like, okay, how many units are out here? Can I come out and break this containment and gain some map presence once again? Because that's what YSC needs to do if he's going to win this game. He's not going to win this game with these units here. That's for sure. Now, looking at Shinee, let's take a look at his economy. Still healthy patches, about half left on those, and still pretty healthy patches here as well. Like 2/3 on those patches. So he's still got a long time of mining on 2 bases. Obviously, this is almost gone. Looks like he's transferred his workers. But yeah, it still has a little bit there. Good amount of factories. 3 add-ons is great. 8 factories total. Very strong macro. But, you know, you might want to think about taking one more base here as Shinee. If he can secure one more base, it'll really give him the economy he needs to completely finish this game off. Now, YSC does a double shuttle drop into here and gets a ton of damage. Look at these SCVs. They are so badly damaged. But, you know, Archon plus Zealot not going to hold up to a quick Vulture force that comes in here to knock this out. Going to be able to kill off that Archon quite quickly. And, you know, here's the thing. If Terran's mining on 2 bases, the odds of you dealing, even if you kill a bunch of those SCVs, it's like, well, I mean, he might have 60 SCVs. If you kill the SCVs on that base, he probably has the other bases running dry anyways, so it's not as big a deal. And truly, that's kind of the case. It's, you know, he's sitting here on 47 SCVs. That's more than enough to mine the 2 bases. He's going to be completely fine right now, economy-wise. Now, kind of hard to keep track of all the engagements going on in this map. Looks like he did try another run in there and kills a few more SCVs. We're down to 43. Excuse me. YSC right now. You know, this is an interesting army that he's running around with. So basically the Dragoons protect these from vultures, right? And, ooh, good EMP there. But that's the idea, is the Dragoons kind of zone the vultures out and pick those off. And if too many of them come, you storm them. And then you're just, it's like a little bit of a containment force, right? You're like, nothing's passing here right now. Or at least you have to bring a big army. And once you bring the big army, this will just retreat. This can't fight this. Right? It absolutely cannot. If you try to go up the high ground, you can hit a couple storms, take a couple volleys, but that's about it. Here, he's going to try to pick off units in the back, but if the whole army turns around, you've got to be careful. The Psy Storm is going to be the complete power of this army. The Dragoons themselves are going to do very little other than finished off heavily Psy Stormed units. So he gets a couple storms down, but as you can see, as soon as the engagement happens, the entire Protoss army gets wiped in seconds. There are some damaged tanks here. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to clear those out. So you're making High Templars over here for defensive purposes to try to slow him from coming up the ramp. 6 gates still. Still hasn't been able to break out of here. Double shuttle here. He has some Psy Storms in there as well. Oh, he's going for this base again? Really? Okay, drops off. Gets his High Templars out. Ooh, very nice Psy Storm right there. He is starting to reduce that number quite a bit. We're down to 38 SCVs, 37 SCVs right now. Now, a bit of a spread as he starts to push this ramp. This base is dead. He was trying to make some Dark Templars, doesn't have power there anymore, can just send up a very small handful of units, and he will be able to kill this base. So top left going to die. This game, from this point, you know, as soon as you kill this base and everything else isn't on fire for Shinee, I think Shinee is going to be able to end up taking this game. Definitely does look that way. All right, out comes a Psy Storm drop on top of this. Some good defense matrices. A big reinforcing army coming in as well. So even as YSC starts to finally break out of this containment, more units come up to reinforce. He's got some more rallying out of his factories here as well. And yeah, he's going to reset this up. This is like a really important moment. You can't let him have free reign with these gateways, even though you're way far ahead. So he resets up the contain. Let's take a look. Fine on the mineral patches, getting very low here. We're almost down to 1 base economy against 2. So there's still, I guess, a little bit of a chance here for YSC, but certainly I'd be surprised if he's able to win it from here. You know, I think that right now Shinee has done enough in this game. He should honestly set up another base. You know, would you trade 3 of these vultures for a command center? I would. Right? Well, I'm adding that to like the minerals he had in bank. So it's like, well, I mean, come on, let's get one more. But he is going up. He's going to try for the finish, I think. Bringing up a lot of vultures here. Psy Storm going to be absolutely critical. Doesn't get the one he wants there. Throws another one down. That's a good one. That's a good solid Psy Storm. A third Psy Storm as well, utilizing that Kadaran Amulet energy. And will knock out some of this. A lot of this is highly damaged. He does have 6 gates. You know what? With the shuttle, he has no anti-air. You can knock out these tanks. Drop a Zealot there. Drop a Zealot there. Drop a High Templar. All All right, there. Well, he unsieges super fast. That was really, really smart. So none of the splash damage gets dragged over. Great execution here from Shinee as he goes ahead, starts laying some offensive mines as well. And I think, you know, as you kill this base, there's really zero left here. That's all you're mining from. All your stuff is stuck. Long distance mining from this Nexus. You know, Shinee, I mean, this is kind of just in the nick of time. When you fall down to one base, you actually can't refill your army very well. Your supply starts getting pretty low as Terran there. But maybe he'll just float the command center. That might be the idea. Okay, finally does start that additional command. One more drop maybe here from YSC. GG. Yeah, that's going to be it. Really an awesome game here. Shinee takes down YSC.